What if the first signs were already before us, but almost no one noticed them? This question echoes like a disturbing whisper, capable of piercing the silence of our daily lives and leading us to reflect on something much greater than we can see. Throughout history, humanity has been warned by small signs before great events, as if the shadow came before the light, as if the omen preceded the revelation. And when we speak of the messages of Medjugorje and the Virgin's warnings, this idea of initial signs takes on even deeper weight. Could it be that what many call coincidence is actually a spiritual calling? Have you ever experienced this? Think about how many times something seemingly simple has happened in your life and later turned out to be a preparation for something greater. A phrase you heard at just the right moment, an unexpected encounter, a powerful dream, a feeling difficult to explain. These fragments of reality can carry what we call subtle signs, small hints that precede great warnings. And it is precisely this atmosphere that surrounds the unrevealed messages of Medjugorje, a mystery that seems to manifest itself between the lines, in the silence and in the details that escape the hurried eye. When the Virgin speaks of prayer, fasting, reconciliation, and vigilance, she is not merely offering generic recommendations, but preparing hearts to understand something greater. It is as if there were a pedagogical process from heaven, in which first comes the discreet warning, the gentle shadow, and then the clear and luminous revelation. Many scholars and believers believe that we are already living in this shadow phase, a time when the first signs spread in the form of spiritual coincidences, sudden shifts in consciousness, and small personal miracles. Stay with me until the end, because what you discover now may surprise you. There's something fascinating about the way Mary delivers her messages. Unlike spectacular announcements, she chooses the path of silence, subtlety, and perseverance. Like a mother preparing her children before an important decision, she directs their attention to the details. This is why the idea of shadow is so significant. It's not definitive darkness, but a sign that a much more intense light is about to emerge. This metaphor helps us understand why so many people feel an inner restlessness, as if something is changing without them being able to explain it in words. The Medjugorje visionaries always emphasize that the messages are not merely predictions of the future, but urgent calls to conversion. The shadow that precedes them is not a threat, but an invitation to prepare. And when we look at today's world, marked by crises, uncertainty, and conflicts, we realize how these warnings speak directly to our reality. It's not about fear, but about discernment, knowing how to identify when something seemingly banal can carry a spiritual message. How many times have you felt an inner restlessness, as if a strong intuition that something was about to happen? These are moments when the shadow may be manifesting in your life. Over the next few minutes, we'll delve deeper into this mystery, exploring how the initial signs present themselves and how they lead us to understanding the 7 messages yet to be revealed. Don't expect ready-made or simplistic answers, because that's not the way. What we'll build here is a reflection that unites faith, mystery, and discernment, seeking to understand what Mary may be telling us through the small details. And perhaps, in the end, you'll realize that what seemed like just a shadow in your life is actually a call to preparation. What you're about to see could change the way you interpret every sign that appears around you. And perhaps it's precisely at this point that everything becomes even more personal, because each of us has experienced moments when something seemingly small left a profound mark. It might have been a dream you couldn't forget, a feeling you needed to change your path, or even a sudden silence that spoke louder than 1,000 words. These signs often seem subtle, but when we look closely, we realize they carry an invitation to transformation, and that's where I want to open this space for you. If this topic resonates with you, leave here in the comments what has touched you most so far, or even an experience of your own that connects with what we're reflecting on. Together, your sharing can help others who are also seeking to better understand the signs that life and faith place before them. And do you know why I insist on this? Because every comment, every like, and every subscription here on the channel allows this message to reach more people who may need to hear it right now. When you interact, it's not just a digital gesture. It's like you're saying, I believe this conversation is important, and I want more people to have access to it. This strengthens our community, creates a space for support, and continues this path of reflection and faith. So, if you feel it in your heart, watch this video right now, and subscribe to the channel to follow me on this journey, because we still have much to discover together. And while you do this, keep this in mind. The shadow may seem like a heavy silence, but it is actually preparation for something much greater that is yet to come. Medjugorje is one of those places that carries an atmosphere difficult to explain in words alone. A small village in Bosnia and Herzegovina, since 1981, it has become a meeting point for pilgrims from around the world, attracting both the simplest in scholars, researchers, and even people who previously had no direct connection to the faith. What began as reports of Marian apparitions to 6 local young people soon took on global proportions, crossing borders, languages, and cultures. The mystery of Medjugorje lies precisely in this. how a place so hidden on the map became the stage for one of the greatest spiritual experiences of our time. For many, Medjugorje is more than a physical location, it's a calling. What happens there goes beyond geography or history. The visionaries, now adults, continue to claim to receive messages from the Virgin, and among them is the enigma of the 7 unrevealed messages, kept secret. This alone would be enough to arouse curiosity, but the impact is even greater, because these messages carry the expectation that they will bring profound revelations about the future of humanity and the spiritual destiny of each person. It's as if we are faced with a hidden truth, still kept silent, but which everyone senses is of utmost importance. Imagine the scene. Millions of pilgrims climb the hill of apparitions, carrying their intentions, their pain, their requests for hope. Many report inner transformations, unexpected healings, and important decisions made after a simple moment of prayer. And when they return home, they carry with them something that never fades, as if a new mindset has been ignited. Within them, this collective experience reinforces the feeling that there is something behind the scenes, something greater being prepared, and yet, to be fully revealed. The mystery becomes even more profound when we understand that the 7 unrevealed messages are not just a mystical secret, but a call to preparation. The seers themselves affirm that they contain warnings and guidance that will be announced in due time, and that each will have a direct impact on the world. It's no wonder that scholars, theologians, and even social scientists are studying this phenomenon, not only for its religious content, but also for the power it exerts on millions of people around the planet. After all, how can we explain that in the 21st century, amid technology, skepticism, and changing mentalities, a simple village continues to attract so many attention? Part of the answer lies in the power of personal experience. In Medjugorje, the stories don't just remain extraordinary, but touch people's practical lives. A mother finds the strength to forgive. A young man decides to change his choices. A family reconciles after years of division. These small, daily transformations are seen as concrete signs that something greater is happening. It's as if each testimony is a fragment of the shadow that precedes full revelation. And in this sense, the mystery is neither distant nor untouchable. It connects directly to the decisions each of us must make on our own journey. It's curious to note how even in the face of so many reports, the Church maintains prudence regarding Medjugorje. This cautious stance, far from diminishing the phenomenon's power, only reinforces the seriousness with which everything must be interpreted. It's not a spectacle, it's not a passing curiosity, it's something that demands discernment, reflection, and an open heart. The official silence regarding the 7 unrevealed messages generates even greater expectation, as if we were all waiting for a revelation that will change the way we view the present and prepare for the future. Now, I want to delve even deeper into this subject, because understanding Medjugorje isn't just about looking at a distant place, but about perceiving how the warnings and signs there echo in our own lives. If so many men and women from different parts of the world feel this calling, perhaps the real question isn't just what will be revealed, but each of us prepares to receive this revelation. And this is a reflection that touches both spirituality and the depths of our daily choices, because when we speak of shadows and signs, we are also talking about inner transformation, the impact on our decisions, and a journey that we are all already on in some way. Write in the comments, "I'm on this journey too," to show that you feel this search within yourself. When we speak of the shadow that precedes, we are not referring to something negative or dark in the sense of fear, but to a profound spiritual concept that appears as a pattern throughout history. Before every great revelation, there have always been subtle, almost imperceptible signs which serve as a silent call for those who are attentive to prepare. It is as if reality has layers, and only those who develop spiritual sensitivity can perceive the first stirrings, the details that most ignore. This mystery of the shadow is an invitation to vigilance, because what seems like a banal detail can, in fact, carry a powerful revelation. If we look at biblical prophecies, we see this same movement. Before the liberation of the people from Egypt, small signs preceded the great Exodus. Before the arrival of the Messiah, there were centuries of prophets announcing, in often discreet words, that something great was coming, even in moments of personal transformation, such as an important decision or a change of mindset. We often noticed that there were small signs that prepared us to take that step. Nothing happens suddenly, without first leaving traces. This is the essence of the shadow that precedes. It is not the end in itself, but the beginning of a journey of preparation, and in Marian apparitions, this same pattern repeats itself. Mary never arrives, instilling fear or despair, but rather whispering, asking for prayer, fasting, and reconciliation. These are simple messages, but when observed carefully, they reveal the depth of a greater plan. It's as if each word were a fragment of the shadow, a piece of the puzzle that prepares the heart for what is yet to come. In Fatima, for example, the first signs were children's requests for prayer before the great revelations occurred. In Lourdes, the spring water began to gush discreetly before becoming a symbol of healing for thousands. And in Medjugorje, the insistent requests for conversion and life change seemed to prepare the ground for something much broader, something still hidden in the 7 unrevealed messages. The most fascinating thing is to realize how the shadow that precedes it also manifests in each person's life. Often, before a real transformation, we experience moments of inner unease, unexpected silences, and events that seem like coincidences but are actually signs of preparation. Have you ever noticed how, before making a life-changing decision, something within you was already being worked on, as if small, almost invisible nudges were shaping the path? This process is part of the spiritual dynamic that permeates both the great prophecies and the intimate journey of every human being. The shadow is, therefore, a hidden truth that demands recognition. It doesn't impose itself, it doesn't shout, it doesn't force, it presents itself as an enigma, as a gentle call that demands sensitivity. And this is where the importance of discernment comes in, knowing how to distinguish what is mere chance from what is, in fact, a sign. Throughout history, those who learned to listen to this whisper were better prepared for the events that transformed the world. It's no different now. In times of uncertainty, these discreet signs can be the key to navigating what lies ahead. With faith and courage, it's also interesting to note how the very concept of shadow conveys an image of transition. Shadow is what appears when the light is near but not yet fully revealed. It's a vestige of what's coming, a reminder that something greater is already approaching. In spiritual terms, living in this time of shadow is a time of expectation, preparation, and conscious choices. It's like being behind the scenes of a great revelation, where silence carries more meaning than the noise of the world. Now, I want to delve even deeper into this topic, because understanding the shadow that precedes it isn't just about recognizing spiritual signs, but also learning to interpret the subtle movements that occur within us. Every uneasiness, every unexpected inspiration, every coincidence that seems to have a greater impact can be part of this silent call that prepares the heart. And when we look at the messages of Medjugorje from this perspective, we realize that we are not just facing a distant mystery, but a living journey that involves us today. Comment below. This makes sense to me if you've ever felt that. Small signs were paving the way for something bigger in your life. Often the first signs don't appear in the form of spectacular miracles, but in everyday details that, at first glance, seem insignificant. It's common to hear stories of people who, without understanding exactly why, felt a sudden change of heart, an unexpected peace during prayer, a silent strength to make a difficult decision, or even the courage to forgive someone after years of resentment. These small inner movements are seen by many believers as gentle warnings, discreet invitations that precede greater revelations. And the more we pay attention to these signs, the more we realize that they don't arise by chance, but as part of a process in which Mary prepares hearts before delivering something more profound. There are also spiritual coincidences, which seem too simple to be the result of chance. A book that appears at just the right moment, a seemingly random conversation that brings exactly the answer you were looking for, an unexpected encounter with someone that changes your trajectory. For those who experience these moments, the feeling is of being led by an invisible thread, as if a hidden truth were guiding their steps. It's not unlike what many pilgrims report in Medjugorje. They arrive, they're carrying doubts, pain, and expectations, but discover that the answer comes not only from the apparitions, but from small details they encounter along the way, a word heard in the silence, a prayer shared with strangers, a simple gesture of welcome that transforms from within. Dreams also occupy a special place among these signs. People who had never given importance to the dream world report remarkable experiences after approaching Mary's messages. Dreams in which they feel a welcoming presence, symbols that spark deep reflections, images that remain etched in the memory, and influence important decisions. Although many dismiss these episodes as figments of imagination, those who experience them sense something beyond, something that touches the soul and cannot be explained by logic alone. These are memories that become silent guides, preparing the heart for moments of true transformation. And how can we not mention that strong intuition that something needs to be done, that a path must be followed, or that a change in the way we live is necessary? How many people report feeling an inner restlessness, as if called to look within themselves and reevaluate their choices? This sensation can arise without warning, in the midst of an ordinary routine, and precisely for this reason, it draws attention. It's as if Mary were reminding us that we don't need to wait for grandiose signs to perceive God's care. We just need to be attentive to small movements, because they always precede something greater. These experiences, though individual, are repeated across different places, times, and cultures, forming a pattern that connects thousands of people. With a common perception, before clear revelation, there always comes preparation. Everyday life, with its encounters and disagreements, its pains and joys, is the stage where spirituality manifests itself most concretely. It is there that the invisible touches the visible, where shadow precedes light. And perhaps it is precisely in this simplicity that the greatest depth lies hidden, in the detail that almost goes unnoticed, but which becomes a turning point for those who pay attention. What's striking is that these small warnings don't come to frighten, but to strengthen. They don't arrive to instill fear, but rather to offer clarity and serenity. They serve as reminders that we are not alone, that there is constant care guiding each step. It's as if everyday signs are the most human way of preparing the ground for the extraordinary, so that when the great revelation arrives, it finds hearts already ready to welcome it. This process is silent, but profoundly impactful, because it shows that spirituality isn't found only in sacred places, but also in the simple act of living mindfully. Now I want to delve even deeper into this subject, because when we observe these subtle signs in light of the Marian messages, we realize that they not only reveal spiritual preparation but also shape our mindset when faced with life's decisions. They teach us to see beyond appearances, to understand that even the most ordinary detail can carry within itself a transformative revelation. Write in the comments, I recognize the signs, if you also believe that the small details of everyday life can be silent warnings preparing something bigger. Silence is often seen as absence, but in spirituality, it reveals itself as presence. When we speak of silence as a sign, we are not talking about something empty or lifeless, but about a different language, one that demands attention and openness from us. In Medjugorje, the visionaries report that there are moments when the Virgin does not speak new words, but simply remains silent before them, a silence charged with meaning, capable of conveying more than any sentence could. This silence is not emptiness, it is an invitation. It is as if Mary were saying, without using words, listen within yourselves, for therein lies the answer you seek. In our lives, silence works the same way. In a world dominated by noise, external voices, and hustle and bustle, stopping and listening to what's happening within us is a courageous act. Many believers report that it was precisely in moments of profound silence that they received clarity to make difficult decisions or realized the real impact of choices they were about to make. This discernment doesn't come from nowhere, but from the practice of quieting the mind and allowing the heart to be guided. Silence, when embraced with sincerity, becomes a fertile ground for revelations, helping us see the truth hidden behind appearances. It's curious how prayer and silence go hand in hand. Mary never asks us to pray automatically, but rather with depth, allowing each spoken word to become a bridge to hear what cannot be heard with ordinary ears. Many who have been to Medjugorje report that the greatest miracle was not seeing or hearing something extraordinary, but feeling a silence so intense it seemed to touch the soul. In this silence, the divine presence becomes clearer, and the heart is able to capture subtle signals that would otherwise go unnoticed amidst the noise. It is a silence that does not paralyze, but rather leads to an inner transformation, changing mindsets and strengthening faith. The visionaries speak of this silence as if it were a necessary pause before each revelation. It's not the absence of communication, but a different way of conveying a message. Sometimes, silence is necessary for us to understand deeply, because human words would be insufficient to carry the weight of what is being shown. This silence, therefore, is pedagogical. It teaches us to wait, to trust, to let answers mature within us, rather than anxiously seeking them. It's the same logic that appears in Scripture, when God reveals himself in a gentle breeze rather than in thunder. The impact of this teaching is enormous, because it invites us to change the way we relate to time and the signs we receive. Instead of rushing in search of immediate answers, we are called to cultivate silence as a space of preparation. It's as if Mary were saying that without silence, there is no true discernment, because it is in this space that small warnings gain clarity. Every pause, every moment of reflection, can become a gateway to better understanding the journey we are on. Now I want to delve even deeper into this subject, because silence is not only a spiritual resource, but a true prophetic sign. It shows us that what is essential will not always come in words, and that often the greatest revelation lies in what is perceived deep within, in the intuition that awakens, in the heart that opens to something new. This silence, far from being empty, is the backdrop to great revelations, the preparation for us to receive without fear what is yet to come. Comment below, I value silence if you also believe that it is in this inner space that many of the most important answers arise. Light and shadow have always walked hand in hand as symbols charged with spiritual meaning. It's impossible to speak of one without considering the presence of the other, because both represent stages of the same journey. When we think of the initial signs of Medjugorje, we can understand the shadow not as a threat, but as the announcement that the light is already near. It's like the night before dawn, a time when everything seems quieter, denser, but which in fact prepares the stage for the arrival of a new day. This image helps us understand that Marian warnings don't arise to plunge us into fear, but to awaken, strengthen our faith, and remind us that each moment of shadow is merely the prelude to a clearer revelation. The shadow, in this sense, has a profound impact, because it invites us to look at what we often try to avoid, the uncertainties, the challenges, the times when we don't have all the answers. And yet, it is in this space that faith matures, because only those who go through the night can appreciate the power of the dawn. Mary doesn't prepare us with images of panic, but with subtle gestures that remind us of the importance of vigilance and prayer, even when nothing seems to be happening. It is in this context that discrete signs become precious, for they reveal that the light is already approaching and that darkness is never definitive. Many accounts from the faithful reinforce this metaphor. People who have experienced moments of crisis, loss, or spiritual silence tell that, at the height of the shadow, something small began to shine within them, a word received at the right moment, an inner strength that seemed impossible to explain, an unexpected encounter that opened doors previously closed. These experiences are seen as glimmers of light beginning to pierce the darkness, showing that the shadow was never punishment, but preparation. The night, however long it may seem, always carries within it the promise of morning. This contrast between light and shadow appears throughout the spiritual tradition. In the Gospels, the birth of Christ is described as a light that shone amid the darkness of the world. The prophets announced signs that seemed harsh but actually pointed to a time of hope and renewal. In each of these episodes, the shadow was not the end, but a reminder that transformation was already underway. This is also true in Medjugorje. The unspoken warnings, the silence, and the discrete signs are part of a spiritual pedagogy that prepares hearts for a greater revelation. It's important to understand that, for those who know how to see, even shadow becomes a form of light. It teaches us to wait, to trust, to strengthen our mindset in the face of trials. Instead of feeding anxiety over what has not yet been revealed, this time invites vigilance, constant prayer, and the building of mature faith. It's as if the Virgin herself reminds us that darkness has its role, because it is in darkness that we learn to listen better, to see the details, to appreciate each ray of light that appears on the horizon. The impact of this on practical life is enormous, because it changes the way we deal with everyday challenges. What was once seen as an obstacle is now seen as part of a preparation, as a behind-the-scenes moment of a revelation that has not yet been fully realized. Now I want to delve even deeper into this subject, because when we talk about light and shadow, we're not just using pretty images or poetic metaphors. We're dealing with a spiritual code that spans centuries and remains present today. Understanding this code is understanding that the initial signs don't appear to frighten us, but to strengthen us and remind us that every dawn needs the night that precedes it. This is the hidden truth that sustains faith in times of uncertainty. Even when everything seems silent or dark, the light is already on its way, and it's up to us to recognize the signs of its arrival. Write in the comments, "I wait for the light," if you also believe that the shadow is just the announcement of a new dawn. The 7 unrevealed messages of Medjugorje occupy a central place in this mystery that spans generations and keeps millions of people attentive. Since the beginning of the apparitions, the visionaries have claimed to have received not only public messages but also guarded secrets that cannot yet be shared. These secrets, they say, are linked to future events that will have a direct impact on the world and people's spiritual lives. What is most intriguing is that, despite the passage of time, this content continues to be kept silent, waiting for the right moment to come to light. This is not gratuitous suspense, but a weight laden with meaning. What we know so far is that these 7 secrets have not been forgotten or set aside. Each visionary received a specific number of revelations, and over the years, it has been said that, at a certain point, a designated priest will be tasked with announcing to the world what is about to happen, a few days in advance. This means that these are not messages lost in time, but a carefully guarded deposit, like a spiritual vault that will only be opened when God allows. This dynamic reinforces the idea of preparation. It is not to generate panic or speculation, but to allow time for conversion and a change of mindset before each revelation occurs. The Church, in the face of all this, maintains a cautious stance, and this prudence should not be seen as distrust, but as caution. History shows that many spiritual phenomena have undergone phases of analysis, and Medjugorje is no different. While investigating, the Church recognizes the positive fruits. Thousands of conversions, reconciliations, awakened vocations, restored families. This in itself demonstrates that something alive and transformative is happening. But when it comes to the 7 unrevealed messages, the stance is one of silence and waiting. No attempt is made to rush time. No immediate answers are sought. This further reinforces the weight of the mystery. There is something so vast that it must be managed responsibly. For those who follow closely, this weight doesn't diminish curiosity. On the contrary, it heightens it. It's as if it were a book whose pages are sealed. But we know that, when opened, they will reveal something that will profoundly mark our collective journey. Some say these secrets involve difficult events, and others believe they are also promises of hope and renewal. What can be said with certainty is that each message carries a purpose, and that nothing was revealed randomly. The shadow that precedes, once again, appears here. First comes the time of prayer and vigilance, then will come the light of revelations. This point sparks an important reflection. Why would the Virgin choose to keep secrets and not simply say everything at once? The answer may lie in the way spirituality works. Often, we are not ready to receive certain truths. We need to mature, transform our mindset, learn to listen to the smaller signs so that, when something greater is revealed, we are able to understand and welcome it. This is the backstage of revelations, a pedagogical process in which every detail of the present prepares the heart to bear the weight of the future. It is not a guessing game, but a path of preparation. Now I want to delve even deeper into this subject, because when we talk about these 7 unrevealed messages, we are not just faced with an external mystery. We are also faced with a mirror that reflects our own capacity to wait, discern, and transform ourselves. The big question may not just be what will be revealed, but each of us is preparing for this moment, because when the time comes, it won't just be about distant prophecies, but about the direct impact these revelations will have on our personal and collective journey. Comment there. I respect mystery. If you also believe that certain truths need the right time to be revealed. Many believe that the prophetic shadow of Medjugorje has already begun to manifest itself in subtle ways, as if small signs were preparing the human heart to understand something much greater. These are not spectacular events that attract media attention, but rather silent and profound changes that touch ordinary people in their daily lives. One of the most common stories is the inner transformation that many pilgrims experience upon visiting the apparition hill. Men and women who arrived burdened by old hurts, deep-rooted addictions, or a nearly extinguished faith return with a new mindset, capable of forgiveness, a fresh start, and a broader outlook on life. These testimonies are interpreted as discreet, but powerful signs that Mary is already preparing her children before the great revelations. Beyond these intimate transformations, there are also reports of discreet miracles that recur over the years. People claim to have been cured of illnesses after moments of intense prayer. Others who found the strength to make radical decisions in their lives, such as abandoning destructive paths and beginning a journey of reconciliation and faith. Many of these experiences cannot be measured by traditional scientific criteria, but the real impact they have on individual stories cannot be ignored. They are small glimmers of light amidst the shadows, reminding us that preparation doesn't happen loudly, but in the silence of the heart and in the subtlety of signs. Another point that draws attention is the warnings already perceived surrounding the Medjugorje messages. Some believers report phenomena such as the sun appearing to change color, crosses that stand out in the sky, or religious objects exuding the scent of flowers with no apparent explanation. Although many view these reports with skepticism, for those who experience them, there is no doubt that something extraordinary happened. And more important than the phenomenon itself is the effect it produces, a renewal of faith, an awareness that the spiritual world is present and active. These are signs that come not to frighten, but to awaken, to show that reality is greater than what we can see or explain. There are also those who report spiritual coincidences that seem to fit together like pieces of an invisible puzzle. People who traveled without expectations and found in Medjugorje precise answers to dilemmas they had silently carried. Others who, in moments of prayer, heard phrases deep in their hearts that completely changed their perception of life. For some, these experiences are mere coincidence. For others, they are clear proof that the prophetic shadow has already begun to manifest itself. Not in catastrophes, but in signs of conversion, change, and hope. What's most intriguing is realizing how these signs aren't limited to the physical space of Medjugorje. Many people around the world claim to have had similar experiences without ever having been there. A powerful dream, a word heard at just the right moment, a sense of presence amidst solitude. All of this is interpreted as an extension of what's happening there, as if the Virgin's message weren't restricted to a single geographic location, but reached every heart willing to listen. This phenomenon further reinforces the idea that the first signs aren't reserved for a select few, but are part of a collective call to preparation. What unites all these testimonies is their real-life impact. These are not just moving stories, but tales of transformation that change entire trajectories. Families reunited, young people abandoning paths of self-destruction, people discovering new strength to face illness or financial hardship. All of this shows that the initial signs are not meant to provoke idle curiosity, but to awaken us to a greater purpose. The prophetic shadow, in this case, is not a dark threat, but a luminous invitation that invites us to look within and change. Now, before the great revelations arrive, I want to delve even deeper into this topic, because these early signs show us that preparation is not only spiritual, but also practical. They reveal how every small decision, every inner transformation, and every act of faith can become part of this great journey that is still underway. Recognizing these signs means learning to see the invisible and allowing oneself to be guided by revelations that, though subtle, carry within them an eternal impact. Comment there. I noticed the signs. If you also believe that these small manifestations are already part of this silent preparation, If we look closely at all these signs that have already manifested, we realize that none of them came as an empty spectacle or mere curiosity. They all point to the same purpose: preparation. Mary never speaks only of the present moment, but of what is yet to come. And this preparation does not happen in the extraordinary, but in the simple, everyday things that each of us lives at home, at work, in our relationships. The call is clear: prayer, fasting, and reconciliation. These three pillars, seemingly so basic, are actually spiritual keys that shape our mindset and strengthen our hearts to face times of trial. Prayer is the first step, not as an automatic repetition of words, but as a sincere openness to dialogue with God. Many accounts of Medjugorje show that prayer transforms not only the person praying, but also the entire environment around them. People who had never dedicated time to spirituality discovered, through daily prayer, a strength they didn't know they possessed. It's as if each word spoken in silence is capable of reorganizing the mind, clarifying decisions, and bringing discernment to seemingly dilemmas. Prayer teaches us to listen, to perceive the hidden truth behind reality, to recognize that there is a hidden truth underpinning every detail of our journey. Fasting is another central point of this call to preparation. And here, it's not just about abstaining from food, but about learning to master one's desires, showing oneself that it's possible to say no when one's heart and mind are focused on something greater. Fasting creates space, opens gaps within us so that grace can act. It strengthens inner discipline, changes the way we look at what's essential, and brings clarity to what truly matters. In times of constant distractions and information overload, fasting is almost a silent revolution, a gesture of resistance against everything that binds us to the superficial. And perhaps most challenging lies in the call to reconciliation. How many families have been divided by old hurts? How many friendships have been broken by pride? How many hearts remain closed because they cannot release forgiveness? Mary insists on this point because she knows there is no true preparation without reconciliation. It is in this act of humility, of asking for forgiveness and also granting it, that the soul finds freedom to walk. There is no point in expecting great revelations if the heart remains bound by invisible chains. Reconciliation is a key that opens the door to transformation, because it teaches us to place love above wounds and unity above divisions. The most beautiful thing is realizing how these practices, far from being burdensome or impossible, can be practiced in everyday life. A family prayer, even a short one, has a profound impact. A small gesture of renunciation, like letting go of something that dominates us to dedicate more time to what builds, can change the course of an entire journey. Forgiveness granted in silence can restore bonds that seemed lost forever. These are seemingly small actions, but they carry within them the power of great revelations. They are what prepare the ground so that, when the shadow gives way to light, we find hearts firm and ready. Now I want to delve even deeper into this topic, because this preparation is not just individual, but collective. When entire families unite in prayer, when communities choose the path of fasting, and when broken relationships are restored through reconciliation, something also changes in the invisible. Preparation ceases to be limited to each individual and becomes a movement that touches the entire world. This is when we understand that the signs of Medjugorje are not just warnings, but urgent invitations for all of us to build together a mindset capable of navigating the trials that lie ahead with faith, courage, and hope. Comment below. I choose to prepare myself. If you also believe that these simple gestures of prayer, fasting, and reconciliation can transform not only your life, but also the lives of everyone around you. The shadow is not the end, and it was never intended to be an endpoint. It is merely the announcement of a new light, a silent prelude that prepares the heart to see what has not yet fully revealed itself. When we look at the signs, both those that have already occurred in Medjugorje and those we have experienced in our own stories, we realize that they do not arise by chance. They are subtle invitations to a transformation of mindset, a call to reconsider decisions, to see beyond the surface, and to embrace the hidden truth that presents itself in seemingly small details, but which carry a profound impact. Perhaps you've felt this on your own journey, that moment when everything seemed uncertain, but a word, a gesture, or even an unexpected silence brought clarity and renewal. These moments are like reflections of the prophetic shadow, subtle signs that something greater is moving behind the scenes of reality. Mary reminds us that we are not alone, that preparation is underway, and that the small signs we experience now are but glimpses of what will one day be fully revealed. That's important to bring this reflection into practical life. How have you been dealing with the signs that emerge in your daily life? Aren't they also a call to more sincere prayer, to purposeful fasting, to reconciliation that restores bonds and strengthens faith? The shadow you may be facing today may not be a senseless burden, but a sign that a new light is approaching. The big question is, are you alert enough to recognize it? Now I want to delve even deeper into this topic, because reflecting on shadow and light isn't just about delving into spiritual symbols, but learning to apply this perspective to every detail of life. It's about realizing that what seems like a mere pause can be the beginning of a revelation, and that every silence can hide a greater message. This changes everything. It changes how we view difficulties, the impact of our decisions, and even transforms the way we navigate our journey. If this message spoke to you, comment below. I am paying attention to the signs. If you've made it this far, it's because this content somehow spoke to your heart. And that's why I want to invite you to continue walking with me. If this video brought clarity or awakened something within you, subscribe to the channel so you don't miss the next reflections, because each message we share here is designed to strengthen your faith and help you on this journey of preparation. Also, take advantage and leave a like. It shows that this conversation resonated and helps us carry this message even further, and to show that you were with me until the end. Write in the comments, "I'm with you until the end." It will be our way of knowing that this word reached your heart. And look, it doesn't stop there. There's a video right here that complements this topic and will help you delve even deeper into this mystery. Click and stay with me there, because I'm sure it will touch you in a special way.